So I did my FIFA diploma in sports management. And this is a program, a worldwide program that has been done right now in Egypt at the Cairo University. And I was lucky enough to graduate, and we got first place in the course that year. And I hope I'll be able to use it one day for the good.
This is wonderful. How many people were with you at that course?
In that course, we were about 30. There was about maybe 12 to 13 Egyptians, young Egyptians. There was about 10 of them from Qatar, from the Qatar Soccer League, the QSL. Even the head, Sheikh Hamad, from the QSL himself, and lots of his administration team. They came and they attended the course with us. It was a one-year course, and they went back, and they even sent, because it was a very successful course, they sent back more employees from the QSL, and they're starting to educate themselves as well.
That's wonderful. Any of them was from the Egyptian Football Federation?
From the Football Federation, yes, there was a couple of youngsters in my class. There was somebody from the legal department, and last year there was also one from an administrator from the FA as well. But I think they came on their own expense.
Well, maybe the people are very much interested to know what is the feedback and the experience somebody can take of spending more than 11 years in the sports field, and then, I mean, especially in football, and going to the administration field and start to really get that with the background of education, as you kindly mentioned, on a FIFA and so on and so forth.
Well, today sports is not just what's happening on the football pitch, as we all know. Maybe in some places of the world, people are still focused and concerned on what's happening on the pitch.
Because this is what they watch.
Because it's what they watch, exactly. But no, sports has become a huge industry right now.
Sure.
The amount of money that's being pumped into the sport is huge.
Yeah, outstanding.
Yes, and I mean, a lot of people like myself that retire from football, and they still love the sport and they want to continue. So obviously, the best way for them to do is to start getting themselves educated and well prepared to get into the sport. As I mentioned, the amount of money today that's invested into the sport, you can always see by the amount of money players are getting in the European leagues today, amount of money that's being spent on sponsorship deals today. Broadcasting, for example, which is a huge source of revenue for football clubs. And all of these different sources, I mean, it needs education. It's not just because I was a good football player or a good tennis player or a good whatever player means I'm going to be a good administrator or a club manager, for instance.
Yeah. Well, being a star is not one of the main qualifications of being a good coach or being a good administrator or so on and so forth.
You're definitely right.
You have to be equipped with whatever can make you a really maybe more star than you are as a football player, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. I mean, today, if you look at some of the top football coaches in the world, Arsene Wenger, Jose Mourinho, these are top coaches in the world. They have not played football at the top professional level, but yet today they are still undergoing a huge awareness license program. It's not that they did their license 10 years ago, no. Every year they have to renew their license, and they have to continue educating themselves.
Well, let me tell you something also in the media. I mean, it becomes a fashion that any of the retired football people to come and being whether a commentator or a broadcaster or just being a sportscaster and just trying to, you know, to play the role. I am sorry, but if they are not educated enough to be facing the camera in a proper way and being able to deal of how to handle the conversations, how to be able to talk to the people, they will still working as a celebrity.
You're right.
And being a celebrity and doing such a thing, it might be a negative, you know, and against the player then, or against the famous player. What do you think?
Well, I don't want to look at it as a negative part. I want to use it as a positive part. And if you played the game as well, and you become a celebrity, then this would give you a good step advance
Absolutely.
than somebody who hasn't played the game.
Yeah.
And today, if when you were talking about media, for instance, the courses that FIFA give today, there's a big part about media training, how to face the camera, how to talk to the camera, how to talk in press conferences. So again, it's a part of education. The more you learn, the more educated you are, the more equipped you are to deal with different scenarios.
Well, I agree with you in a way, but what I'm talking about is being a professional in front of the camera. It's not only being facing the camera as a player. Facing
Sure.
the camera as a player or a coach or one of the administrating team is the name of the game for the federation to prepare you for that.
Yes, you're right.
This is the study you're kindly talking about. Well, what I'm talking about is being a professional in a career. If you want to be a professional in training and you're a former player, one of the celebrities,
Yes.
you never can be
you're
a
right.
good coach
You're right.
unless you go through the right phases to
Exactly.
be able a good
Exactly.
coach.
In England, for example, the FA in England are very strict on their licensing program. Some 2-3 years ago, there was one coach, a very, very famous international player, Alan Shearer, of course, we all
Yes,
know.
of course. Yeah.
Once he retired from the game. The next day he was on the bench, but the federation gave him one year allowance period to do his certificate so he can come back and coach.
Yeah.
And it's not just because, like you said at the beginning, not because he was a good player means he's going to be a good coach. No.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
very strict. And today in Africa, for instance, the CAF has already started 3 years ago with the CAF license program, level the C, B, and A license right now. It's something that I hope that will educate and improve the awareness of all the coaches in the continent, because I think there's lots of talents in the continent, but
absolutely.
education has been a major problem in the country and in the whole continent.
Well, education overall in football will lead us to talk about players and education.
Sure.
We have noticed that some of the, or most of the football players doesn't really care about continuing their education or being in a high level of education or being going to even university or whatever it is. They really have enough to be able to reach the level of making the team and being celebrity. What do you think?
You're absolutely right. But again, football players will always be football players. I mean, the football players, the problems we have here in Egypt, we have the same problems in England, same problems in Spain. I mean, these players, lots of them, not all of them, come from a relatively poor background. Once they start having the amount of money that they're making, they need proper guidance in their lives. And if that guidance is not available, then you can expect anything back with anybody without the cash.
I agree with you 100%. Otherwise, why the
Ronaldo,
FIFA have made these courses?
You're exactly right.
Yeah,
Absolutely right.
yeah.
Today, there's a lot of courses about player management. Today, we hear about psychologists getting involved with football teams and soccer teams right now to start handling the pressure that these players are in. Because at the end of the day, these players are human and they do have a lot of pressure on their shoulders.
Absolutely.
I mean, they have to perform every day, you know, the best on the training ground, and that's a lot of pressure. And all of a sudden, when they have the obscene amount of money, you know, sometimes their brain starts going in different directions. You know,
anybody.
Not
only them.
Exactly.
But the matter of fact, that's one of the main things. Maybe it was a difficulty for the football survey has been done by the FIFA. I understand that the level of the players was different when they start to clubs to start to educate and to put special kind of seminar to educate the player how to talk to, how to behave, how to deal with the people, how to deal with their coaches, how to deal with their daily basis work and so on and so forth, because that was one of the zero negative points for the football players.
Yes.
And the matter of fact, the reason that FIFA has done that, which I read about, correct me if I'm wrong, but because they would like to have more value for the football.
Absolutely.
They would like to have that the celebrities would be interviewed to be a really good value to talk to.
Of course.
Not to find the words to say, not to find the subject to talk about,
Sure.
not to have a flat mind of not talking about a good culture of whatever that they would like to talk about. It's a lot of positive things that the FIFA trying to get into it since they got the money now with transfer and with the sponsorship and so on and so forth.
You just said the important word, money. I mean, FIFA has to brand their players in a very good way. They have to use their players as advertisers for the game, because these are the tools that are promoting the game. I mean, all of our kids when they're young, they want to be Thierry Henry, they want to be Zidane, they want to be, and this is good
Ronaldo,
for FIFA, Ronaldo's.
yeah.
This is good business for the FIFA.
Yeah, sure.
And today, not like before, like you said, today it's much more open today because of the media. You know, everybody sees all the players in the dressing rooms after games. There's the press conferences, and FIFA is very keen on promoting their game in a very positive way. And it's not just on the players and women's football as well. They're promoting that part of the game as well. They're promoting grassroots right now, and they're trying to improve the image of FIFA worldwide, which is very important.
Well, if you tell me, and I don't know about, if you tell me 2.8 billion is the price for the TV rights for the World Cup finals, I would say, excuse me, you're a liar. But if I look at it in figures, and I know that this is the real money has been paid to the recent World Cup finals in South Africa, you can say this is a hell of a money. If you know that the FIFA is one of the biggest
non-profitable organizations in the world.
Organizations and associations in the world, and they have in their account 4 billion euros, which means that they are one of the biggest people in the world and know how to handle their organization. So they consider be a prototype. What do you think about that?
Again, you're talking 2.8 billion.
Only for TV rights for one World Cup final.
If you break it down and you go into the different leagues that are being playing in the world today, if you look at the Spanish league, for instance, Real Madrid last year made a profit more than 400 million euros in one season.
Oh yeah, that's a net profit.
That's a net profit, and that's coming from the broadcasting rights, from the sponsorships, from the match day, which is all the match day merchandise and all of that. So if you look at one club that has 26 players on their squad making such huge amount of money with a stadium of 70,000, I'm not shocked that FIFA can generate 2.8 billion, like you said, from the, because it's an international game. You know, everybody loves the game, everybody plays the game. It's one of the cheapest games in the world. All you need is a ball, you know, and that's it.
Let me add to you one thing. Maybe the people will share us the surprise. The merchandise was sold for 1.5 billion euros.
Wow.
So you can imagine how much money you can make if you try to fight for hosting a World Cup final.
Of course. It's a lot of jobs as well for the people in South Africa. When you've read and you know the figures very well, I can tell. If you look at the amount of jobs that had produced behind the World Cup.
Oh yes, of course.
Amazing. Yeah. There's a huge international conference called Soccer X that travels behind the World Cup. It's been in South Africa for 4 years. Now they're starting it in Brazil. And it's a huge seminar that happens every year. And it's about all different sorts of football-related options available, from artificial turfs, from natural grass, from lighting, from everything, new equipment.
Definitely.
And it's just a huge business, like we said at the beginning.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be part of the Russian bidding team for 2018. They won, but they were putting the budget for 10 billion euros for the competition.
Yes.
And they're working on that, and they will have tremendous World Cup in 2018, so as Qatar 2022. Yes. I mean, now, as you kindly mentioned at the beginning, it is not only a sports game.
Yep.
It is a business, and it is a huge business.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about that later, after we just get through this report and come back and continue with our guest of tonight, engineer Diaa Salah.